Dan took a seat at the very back of the training room, hoping to blend into the wall as he observed George's meeting. The Cash Flow Breakfast Club, he said to himself, appreciating the irony of a breakfast club meeting at 7 in the evening. He heard a cheerful squeal from across the room. It was Julie, and she immediately made her way to the back to sit with Dan. She squeezed her brother's hand tightly and gave him an excited side hug. Dan smiled at his sister, but his eyes pleaded, "Don't embarrass me." Dan tried to show no emotion, but surprised himself by how excited he was to be there. There was an energy around him that he hadn't felt in a while. The room soon filled up, and he saw George at the front engaged in a conversation with a gentleman who looked to be in his 70s. "That's Sam," Julie whispered. "Rumor has it that he will be ringing the gong today. Once you reach your financial freedom number, you get to ring the gong." George asked everyone to take their seat. The gong rang. Cheers and applause continued for what seemed like forever, as Sam bowed and waved to the group, pretending to be a star performer taking a bow at the end of a play. Finally, he cleared his throat and motioned for them to let him speak. "I remember joining this group a little over 5 years ago. I was 65 then, and, as you all know, I worked hard all my life, but found myself in a position where I couldn't retire." He cleared his throat again, clearly not comfortable with all the attention. He glanced over at George with a look that said, "Do I have to do this?" And George smiled and nodded, giving Sam a boost of encouragement to continue. "I worked all my life making a decent living in hospitality management. I'm currently a hotel manager at the Outrigger in Waikiki, a job that I worked hard to get over many years of dedication to my company. I made a great income. Unfortunately, I never put much effort into learning about retirement, so I did what my HR director and company-referred financial planner told me to do when I was hired almost 35 years ago. Just allocate a percentage of your paycheck to your retirement every month and forget about it. You don't want to play that game where you live and die with every up and down of the stock market," the HR director told me. "That sounded good to me," Sam shared. At this point, he was staring off to the corner of the conference room, like he was watching it unfold before his eyes again, yearning to tell his younger self to wake up and pay attention. "I took the easy way out of planning for my future and bought into the set it and forget it mindset of retirement investing. On average, the market has increased by 10% a year for nearly the last century," he exclaimed, mimicking the villain of his story, his financial planner. "That's not investment advice. That's a sales pitch. Sure, that advice makes sense if you have 90 years. It even makes sense if you have 30 years. But what happens when you are a year away from your planned retirement and the market crashes, and you lose 50% of your retirement nest egg?" Waiting until it averaged back out over the next 30 years was not really an option for Sam at age 65. That's what forced him to take his retirement into his own hands. He started by educating himself on real estate investing options for retirement. He became obsessed with the Bigger Pockets podcast and various YouTube investor coaches who helped him with his knowledge, but ultimately, he did not have the confidence to get started on his own without a coach or a mentor. That path took him down a rabbit hole and into the dark side of the real estate investing world. It was the side that monetized the education and mentorship of new wannabe investors. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry who found themselves on HGTV also ended up creating a paid investor seminar series. "I'm all for paying for a good education," Sam said. "But once it got to the point where I was $38,000 into a real estate investor education program, and when I finally reached what I thought would be the end of the course, where they would give me the good stuff and next steps to start investing, it turned out they'd withheld the best stuff for a separate advanced course, and that would cost me another $35,000.